What about with interest rates rising? Hasn't that stressed you out a bit?
Oh, I haven't got a single hair on my head now.
How have you, but in reality, how have you coped with that? It's probably harder to borrow that much, right?
It's tough. So I mean, we can talk about my numbers. I mean, my debt's in the range of kind of 12 or 13 million. So you increase the interest rates by 4%, I've got to find another 500 or 600 grand a year. And obviously, most people don't even earn that kind of money. So that's all part of the cycle. So in the good times, rather than blow all my money, that's when I was then pulling equity out, making sure I've got equity buffers so that I can ride these downtimes without having to panic sell. Now, over the last 30 years that I've been investing, we've had lots of ups and downs, GFCs, COVIDs, credit crunches. I paid 10 or 11% interest rates. I paid down to 2 or 3. And the whole idea is this isn't a hobby business. This is big business. Like I've got 20, 25 million of property. And so that's, if you think of that as a business rather than just an asset base, that's a lot of money to deal with. And so I treat it like a business. And so I have the best advisors in the country I can have and my numbers inside out. And whilst I haven't got everything perfect, I reasonably calculate. So I could go bust at some point in time. Hopefully I won't. But at least I'm making calculated decisions, but with some very big numbers.
Mm-hmm. And how have you limited that risk of the 25 million? Like, what's your strategy there?
So a lot of it's about the quality of the assets that I buy at the first place. So it's not volatile stocks. I'm not buying in mining towns or regional areas that might double or half overnight. So it's a slow and steady wins the race kind of philosophy. And a lot of what I've learned about buying the right stock comes from, say, Sky News. As you said, I've been hosting on there for 10 years. And so I would then go and invite the guests that I wanted on there, like the economists and the banks, and I'd work out what they like, what they see as risk-free, what they're more prepared to lend on. Because your ability to go from one property to $5, $10, $20 million isn't based on what you think it's worth or how you value the asset. It's what the bank thinks, because they're the ones refinancing to then give you the equity to keep repeating. So I learned what the value is like and what they dislike to then be as aligned with the bank as possible, so that when the bank sees me, I haven't got a $5 or $10 million home. As you can see, I've got an amazing view behind me, but I'm probably one of the most well-known rent investors. I haven't lived in my own home for probably 25 years, half my life, and I may never live in my own home ever. But to me, it's an advantage rather than a negative. So I can do these things because I know the banks hate lending on $5 or $10 million properties.
If you've got a 25 million portfolio, debt of 12, why don't you just sell the whole thing and sleep better at night? Or is that not your strategy?
Yeah, so look, you could do. So, I mean, just to make the numbers easy. So say a few years ago, I had, say, 20 million of property and 10 of debt. So I could sell it all. You'd have 10 million. You'd probably pay maybe 2 million capital gains. You're left with 8 million cash. Now, 8 million cash, obviously, for a lot of people, then that's a lot of money and they can survive on that, and multiple families can survive on that. But again, my thought is that $8 million is rising by, say, 400 to 800 grand a year, which when you live in Sydney and there's kids at private schools and overseas holidays and stuff like that, sure, it is a lot of money. But again, my thought is say 20 or 25 million is then rising by, say, $1.5 to $2.5 million a year. Sure, you've got the debt, but I'm not paying for the negative gearing from my wages. It's really coming from equity or from the other properties. And so because I know my numbers inside out, I'd rather have rather than 8 million doubling to 16 million debt-free, I'd rather have 25 million doubling to 50 million and then give me a net, say, 35 million or whatever later on. Because sure, I get a bit of stress from the debt, say, in times like this, when your repayments suddenly go up 400 or 500 grand a year. But in 2021, when I had, say, 20 million and 10 of debt, my portfolio was only costing me maybe 50 or 100 grand a year. Right. And so if I had $1 million in my buffer, that was going to last me 10 or 20 years. It's no stress. So having $10 million of debt is stressful. But if you already know you've got 500 or 600 grand's worth of rent coming in from diverse properties, I'm not paying back $10 million worth of debt. I'm paying the difference between the rent and the mortgage on $10 million worth of debt.
That makes sense.